So this is Baruch here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and it's my pleasure to come back over to the Rav, the Holy Rabbi Nachas ben Fege, who's coming over here to teach us a little bit sweet Torah, the Torah of, let's say, so to speak, of our mother, of Bina, the Torah that comforts us, the Torah that shows us how to lift ourselves up. Now, in this Torah, the Rabbi talked about two different concepts. One is the concept of the Ches, which represents Chachma. That's what he talks about, Seichel, that there is an intelligence within everything that shows, lights the light, lights the path. It becomes obscured as it goes downwards, and ultimately rises and rests in the letter Nun, which is a concept, he says, of Malchus. So this is talking about what does it take to reproduce. What do you want to reproduce? You want to reproduce, or you want to produce the answers to your prayers, the answers to the needs of your life, whether we're talking about your panas or of your health, or we're talking about the relationship that in your home, your shalom bayis. So many different things that just come out of nowhere and affect you. That all of them have a certain seichel within them, and when our katness of our thinking is that we're not able to be able to see the pattern that's around us, is very difficult, and we work on this. But we need it, because otherwise we're at the mercy of just short-mindedness. So what we're looking to do here is put the two together, the Chokhmah, which is the real energy to produce answers, and Malchus, which is the empty place that needs answers. So let's say what happens when you put them together, you produce this concept called Chen. Chen is grace. The Chen is also another word. It's another word. It's the word Noach also, which means comfort. It's also the concept of the ear, the person who listens, who wants to hear. Maybe you can't hear what Hashem is speaking to you, but you can try to listen, and maybe it will come to us. That's what we try. So here we are in this place right here. This is the beginning of the third shir in the Likutei Maharan. And he said, by your learning Torah, this is all Mayim Nukvin. This is all going up to heaven, going to a place beyond our physical lives. This kablim called the feelings of akashos. That is through this Torah and the creation of this chen. This is how all of our prayers are answered. Ki iker masha ein this kablim of akashos. What's the reason why we need? What's the reason why we think that our prayers are not answered? Hu makbash ein lahadavarim chen. It's because the things that you're saying, the things that you doing are not graceful. They're not in grace. And they never come into the heart. There's no feeling that is aroused in the Shekhinah, so to speak, as a result of this. He says, it's as if you were asking someone for a favor. And here we're speaking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who is the source of all. And there's no place in the heart, the metaphoric heart, to hear what you're saying because of your behavior. Machmas, he says, why? Because the Mavakesh doesn't have the chen, which is produced as a result of the limud the Torah and the person's prayers. There's no, the person doesn't, that is a kavayachol, that the Kodesh Baruch Hu not looking at you because you're not looking at him. And this is the reason why prayers are not answered. So he said, but by through learning Torah. The nun with the ches. It puts them together. That's how you make chen. He said, that is the condition that allows your prayers to be answered. Therefore, nikras haTorah, so they're the chorus. The Torah is called Ya'alas chen. It elevates us into chen. And then, when you're using the Torah as your vehicle, Rabbi Nachman speaks a lot of time about making your Torah tefillah. What he means to say is that you understand that it's not just learning facts and learning which is this for that. It's not only that, but it's the concept of elevating it. It's a kavanah that comes first. That you're offering this is your offering to Hashem. And then the person, the things that the person is saying, their answer. He said, "V'niskablim," they received a devarav b'kashaysev, what you seek, what you ultimately need. That is brought down in an answer, kamo mi shebedaber divrei chen, like a person who's speaking graceful words, words that are beautiful to hear. Sheniknazim adevarnim b'leibam b'bacham isvakesh, because these go in, words, beautiful words, enter into the ears of he, from he whom we seek answers. They're the one that you're seeking. He said, but this is also the concept of taf. Now, taf means what? This is the last letter of the alphabet, of the aleph base. So he says, so you take the ches, and you take the nun, vanun, and they have the concept there is chen. So now you have chen. So he said, and between the two, by putting the two together, which is the yichud of Zachar v'Nog, right? This is a putting everything together. Shehi lashon chakika v'rishima. The tav is a concept, but he brings a pasuk here. The pasuk says is a concept of carving out, and this is really a metaphor for everything that we do in this world. Is to try to find a place that the chen could be chal, could rest, come to rest. And here's what he's saying, because the lashon tav, it actually is a verb, which means to carve out. So he says, v'hatavis tav. So you carved out a place. Ki al yedei hachen. So therefore, by producing chen, again, limud Torah, tefillah. He says this causes nechekach v'nirsham, become carved out and become impressed. Makom belev, a place in the heart. Misvakesh, the kabbalah b'kosha of he who you are seeking from. Which ultimately, if you were listening to the shir this morning and the Sifra that's Yusa, then you saw over there that he said that it's Eric Anpin. So the very beginning of any in conception of reality is where the flow needs to begin from. That light needs to shine on us. For that to happen, we have to turn to that light. That's produced by the concept of chen. Ki ad yedei hachen niskablo devarav, because through the chen, that's how the words that you're using are received. That is the request. Nimsa shebechidas hachen chokok makom belev zeh shebebakshi b'mena. So therefore, the concept of chen, once again, the yichud of chochma and malchus. By putting those two together, you produce chen. This chen is able to be carved out in the heart of the one that you seek. Kadeshi yakansu devara belivo, so that your words should be able to come into his heart, be a kabel b'kashaso, and be able to receive his request. So understand that the rishima, in other words, let's go through these two words. The carving out a place is making an impression in the heart of the Most High, so to speak. He wants to hear what you have to say. He cares about you. Why? You care about him. You know that he's the source of your answers. So when you come to that, you apply the Torah in this way, making your Torah into a tefillah, understanding that this is the possibility because you need answers, you need protection. This is a dangerous world. You need to be associated and clinging to as much as possible the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. That's eternity. V'zehu divrei chachomim b'nachas nishmoyim. So this is the concept that nachas, when things are pleasant, but it means also, he says, a place where the chen resides. He says that's where things are heard. Nachas daika, so it's really specifically this concept of nachas, a noach plus a carved out place. Hainu b'chinas chen hanal, v'hataf hanal, so that it's the chen that we talked about, the grace that you have in the place for the grace to fit. Vayideze na'asa osios nachas, and this itself makes the letters nachas. But then the shmoyim devarav and its kabel b'kashaso canal. So now we go over here. This is how things are answered. So you say you're in trouble or you have hurts, whether, once again, with your children, with your wife, with your business, with your health, with things that are coming out of nowhere and you just don't know, a tornado hit your house, whatever. All of these things are coming from one place only. And so we understand the solution to all of them is to get onto your feet and start learning. So Yaakov, he says, is the conduit for this seichel. He's the aspect of the seichel because it goes through him. Yaakov is the middle line. So therefore he had tremendous amount of chen, like it's written over here. Because Hashem has given me chen. Now it's not like we're thinking like this. Avraham Avinu, he didn't just pop up one day, turn the corner, and there Hashem started talking to him. No. He was talking to Hashem all the time. He found him. He understands it's a penimius to reality. That's the seichel sheyesh b'kol davar. He had to work to get it. He said, so therefore, when he gave blessings to the tribes, he blessed them with chen. Chen, once again, it's the concept zocha v'nok of learning Torah, to bring down shafa. He said, "Hayolodim asher chonon." So this is a quote over there. Binyamin wasn't there then. So he said, "Al kain baruchu Yosef b'chein." So therefore, Yosef blessed with chen. Kamasher kasav Elokim yechancha b'nei. And that's why he said that to Binyamin when Binyamin came to Mitzrayim. V'davka Yosef. It's only Yosef. It's a different idea now, slightly different. He said that Yosef, now let's just go over that before we get to the puzzle. Is a V'davka Yosef. It has to be Yosef. Yosef represents Yesod. Yesod is also known as the little Tiferes or the little Zeranpin because it's the extension of Zeranpin. It's the ultimate end, but it is a power of its own, and that its point is to make it possible for the Yichud with the others, with the Nukva, to take place. So he says, "V'davka Yosef koya yochel levarchu b'chein." It's only Yosef, specifically him, that could come and bless Binyamin with chen. Ki Yosef hoyakolo b'Yosef b'bechinas Yaakov, because more than all of the other brothers, he is the Yesod, and we've said before that Yesod is the concept of a pool, that all of the Shvatim actually pour into Yosef, because Yosef, what he represents the Kedusha of Bris. Kamash Kosev Ela Tolos Yaakov, and then it says Yosef, because Yosef is the one that's going to bring the Shefer from Tiferes into Malchus. Yehu Choye Iker told Daisiv, because that's really the ultimate purpose. You understand what the Shvatim mean when you understand what they're actually trying to do, which is correct, which is to make a Yichud. Ki Yaakov and Yosef Kechada Cheshivi, because they're considered as one. They're both in the middle line if you understand the lines of Kabbalah. So there it says in Yosef, Bechor Shoro Chardolo, the firstborn of his ox is his glory. He says, a beauty, Bechor Hu Bechinas HaSeichel. So understand the operant word is Bechor Shoro. He's the firstborn. He's not the firstborn. But what does he mean? He's the one that possesses ultimately the Seichel, because everything pours in to Yisod. Bechor Shoro Chadorlo. Is a Bekor Chuba Bechinas HaSeichel. V'zecha B'shoro Loshen Histaklos. So understand, when he says Shoro, is like, let's see what he means by that, how we understand this. It's the concept of looking at the Seichel, which is what the Rav has been saying, the Rebbe has been saying, is Loshen Histaklos. Look at it. There, it is there, you got to look for it. How do you look for it? He says through the Chen, that is from the Torah that you bring down and you're learning. Because you have to come and look at this hidden intelligence that is behind everything, occurrences and physical reality. Targum Onkelos Zivli. So Targum, the Onkelos translates in Aramaic, he says it's like a radiance for me. Lashon or, the concept of light. This is the light of the light of seichel, the light of intelligence, the light of the hidden intelligence. Ki ha-seichel meir lo b'kol davar, because the seichel now, especially in Yosef, because there's the accumulation of all the seichel that our prayers and our Torah bring down. Even if you find your life, the circumstances of your life, in tremendous darkness, dimness, opaqueness, you don't know what to do. Meir lo ha-seichel, but the seichel is still there, because in the darkness, it's one of the main things of Rebbe Kodesh. Hashem's in the middle of that darkness. Because if you can find the godliness in the situation you're in, that because the seichel is in everything, every occurrence, every issue in your life, the things that are most important to you is the places where you need to peel back the darkness and seek the light. And how do we do that? We do that through the learning of Torah and Tefillah. And it will bring him to Hashem Yisbarach. That's the third shir here in the Likutei Maharan. It's such a pleasure to be able to do this. This little thing is a piece of rosemary that I found in this book. I haven't opened this book in a long time, and maybe I got it in Eretz Yisrael like 25 years ago. I don't know, and I just kept it in the book. This is Baruch Fleischman, Tikkun Elevator Kol.